Hey everybody, my name is Jennifer. This is Metatron speaking. I have two messages for you today that are kind of related, so I'm going to relay them both at the same time. And also, they're both rather short, so why not? I had I channeled, shoot, I have to make sure I get their names right. Anuket. So these are two different, I can't speak today, guys. I channeled an Egyptian goddess named Anuket. She's actually originally a Nubian goddess, so Nubian and Egyptian goddess. She's the goddess of the Nile River. She symbolizes abundance and fertility. So I channeled a message from her, and then right after that, I also got a message from um, Egyptian God Nefertum, who's the Egyptian god of the lotus flower. So these messages are somewhat related. Um, it's really talking about going through different cycles in your life and there being a time for certain events. And it's also talking about suffering and how to like transcend suffering. So I feel like these are really applicable messages right now. I feel like the energies of May were kind of rough. I don't think I'm the only one who went through that. Felt like the end of April and all of May so far has been kind of brutal. So sometimes that's the way it is. And so the message is kind of touching on that, and it's touching on other things. So let me tell you what they had to say. So this is what Anuket, Egyptian goddess of the Nile River, abundance and fertility, says. She says, everything has a cycle. There is a time for everything. Your life goes through cycles too, times of action and times of rest, times to celebrate and times to mourn, periods of feeling low, tired, and needing more rest are expected. You are surprised? Much of your planet pushes for progress, action, and happiness. These are necessary, but nothing can remain forever. Happiness is not sustainable indefinitely. Your goal should not be happiness or any one thing, for that would be static. Being one thing always is resistance to the natural ebb and flow of energy. You must have yin and yang, dark and light, joy and sorrow. You need all things to be in balance. Cycles in your life mean that there are certain months and years where a different approach is needed to move forward. Resting and being introspective are part of moving forward. Purging yourself of old hurts is part of moving forward. Mourning your losses is part of moving forward. These will come and go, and sometimes last only briefly, and other times stay for a long time. Be accepting and flexible to what your soul and emotional body needs. This will not always align with what the mind wants or with what society expects. If you are in a period of discontent, depression, or recovery, do not despair. This work is necessary to your growth and prosperity. This time in unpleasant feelings will not last indefinitely. All seasons come to an end eventually, and all seasons return again eventually. Allow and embrace where you are at this moment emotionally, because that is what is needed. There is no shame in being in a cycle of lower emotions. Everything serves a purpose. Allow your emotions to teach you and do not judge yourself. You are where you need to be. There is always hope. There is always a time when the sun will shine again. You are purging what is low so that your frequency can return even higher than before. Allow this work to be done. That is the end of her message. I'm going to give you Nefertum's message. So this is the Egyptian god of the lotus flower. I was gonna take the time to feel their energies, but they were so fast with their messages, and I could tell by what they were saying I was talking to who I wanted to talk to. So I was like, okay, you're clearly a high guide. I'll just take the message. But I didn't get a chance to interact with them the way I normally like to. But also, I've been in a period of purging and lower emotions and all this other stuff. So they're probably like, you know what, just take the message. You need the message. You don't need to do all the interaction right now. So this is what Nefertum, Egyptian god of the lotus flower, says. He says, always remember the lotus flower with its roots firmly planted in the mud. The lotus flower must rise above the dark and murky waters from where it comes from in order to reach the surface where sunlight is. Do not you too come from dark and murky waters? Suffering is unavoidable in a body. The roots of the lotus flower are like our physical bodies, connecting us to the world. We must constantly choose, again and again, each day, to rise above the murkiness of suffering, to hold a higher view of our world. When the lotus is underwater, in suffering, this is all it knows. This is all there seems to be. When it rises above the suffering to a divine perspective, it finds sunlight, and it finds that there is much more to the world than just the murky waters it is rooted to. You cannot escape suffering. You can only choose a new perspective that will bring you clarity, light, and comfort. Suffering serves the purpose of bringing us closer to wholeness. Suffering brings the opportunity for wisdom, understanding, and compassion. Seek a higher perspective so that you can rise above your murky waters and not feel like you are drowning in them. So that's the end of his message. Really, really fascinating when he's talking about the lotus flower and how it just makes me think of all the people in the world, how all of us, right? We're all trying to avoid suffering, right? We're trying to run, we're trying to hide, we're trying to ignore it, we're trying to do everything to outrun it. And he's like, you're in a body. You cannot avoid this. You are rooted to the physical world where there is suffering. You cannot avoid this. But then he's also saying, but this is why you are here. You are here to get your perspective out of the muddy water and bring it up higher so that you're not really suffering anymore. I mean, you're still connected to the world. Things are still happening. But there's a difference between when you're in the suffering and you're like the lotus flower in the muddy water and you can't see, and it's like your perspective is that muddy water, right? You're like, the world is dark, the world is unclear, This makes no sense. This is awful. I hate it here. Everywhere I look is muddy water. Everywhere I look is suffering, right? Because when you're in your suffering, that's what you see, that's what you feel, that's what you know, that's all there is. And he's saying if you can rise above that, then you realize, oh, okay, that's where suffering is. I don't have to stay in that chaotic part of the suffering. I can rise higher than that and recognize the wisdom and the compassion that I could be gaining from my suffering in order to bring myself clarity, bring myself peace, and expand your world beyond just the murky waters. So I thought it was a really fascinating message. So 2 short messages from both of them. I hope you enjoyed them. I thought they were fun, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.